Hey everybody, it is Romania Black, and we're on episode 8 of Yona of the Dawn, The Chosen Door. So yeah, last episode, I loved episode 6, and episode 7 just like followed it up wonderfully. I'm glad we're getting into the lore. There are dragons. They've given their blood to these warriors to make them dragons. Hawk is a Raiju. He's not a dragon. He's a thunder beast. A wolf, if y'all have commented on. I swear that the OP had him as a dragon in the background and they've changed it. So it was all just a fake out, right? But the idea of Yona having this red hair and the original king, who was the red dragon who became mortal, I'm guessing Yona is like the reincarnation descendant of him. I'm guessing it's like a phoenix. She's had a phoenix motif in the background for most of the OP leading up to episode 7. So I'm guessing she's like a reincarnation of him maybe. And she's also his descendant. So I don't know. But I love that we're getting complexity with Suwon, with his character, that it's so frustrating. I feel like Suwon is going to be a frustrating character, not because he's the antagonist, but because I like Suwon's character, but I'm frustrated that he couldn't just, he couldn't have just married Yona. Like Hawk suggested, he's like, you could just marry Yona and become the king and I'll be your guard. And he could have had it, we could have had like a threesome with Yona and Hawk and Suwon. I don't know. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating that it had to work out the way that he did, and that he killed King Il, and that Hawk and Yona, he basically betrayed their trust. Like, it's horrible that that's happened, because you can tell he cares about Hawk and Yona, and I feel like Suwon is going to be one of those frustrating antagonists that you don't know what to do with. And so I like his character, but I'm so curious and want to know more about him. But last episode, old Iksu, he did the prophecy and everything. Yoon is there. It looks like he's sewing clothes. It's all set up, and I'm pretty excited. I took a week off from watching Yona just because of stuff going on and scheduling, but I'm excited to get back into episode 8, y'all. So let's dive in, shall we? Without further ado, we are going to start episode 8 of Yona of the Dawn, The Chosen Door. And we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh my gosh, that was so sweet. I really liked this episode, especially as a standalone, to develop the relationship between Iksu and Yoon. For being a one episode thing, they really basically covered all the ground they need to establish the relationship between these two and why they care so much for each other. I really, really loved that about this episode. But, so, there are a couple things I want to talk about, though, as we go through it. So, establishing that, I like that we have, establishing that Yona, her getting to know Yoon a little bit closer and realizing that Iksu's request is that he wants them to take Yoon with them on that journey. And it all makes sense now because he wants Yoon to go out and see the world. Like, he's basically, Iksu saved Yoon. He saved him from this life of, he was basically going to starve to death, and gave him this chance to go out and see the world like he wanted to. But here's the thing, Iksu said in the flashback that he needed to keep a low profile because he's a priest, but also because I'm sure, even though Yuhan kicked him out of the temple, I'm sure that if they found him, they established in the last episode that some of the priests were considered to be like, the one priest killed one of the kings previously. So it would make sense that Iksu doesn't want to be discovered. He's not only avoiding the villages, like Yoon says, because it makes him depressed, he can't help people. And we see that displayed in this episode, but because he possibly could be hunted by the other tribes and by Suwon. Especially, Suwon does not seem spiritual at all. Suwon seems very anti-spiritual. And so he might see, it's not that Suwon may see Iksu as a threat, but the people that Suwon is working under, like this Minsuk and all them, might see Iksu as a threat and be like, oh, king, we need to get rid of this priest because he could come and try to kill you. And Suwon, wanting to be this strong leader, might say, yeah, go for it, get rid of him. Because he doesn't know the connection with Hawk and Yona. He doesn't know the connection with Il and all them. He probably doesn't realize it's Iksu if he's seen him in the past. And so Iksu may be hiding to try to prevent that from happening. And so he may also be sending Yoon out of the way to distance him from him. He may be like, okay, I know now that Yona and Hawk are on the move. This prophecy is coming true. if I keep Yona and Hawk around me, I'm going to be a target, and that's going to make them a target. And so they need to distance themselves from me, and I want to get Yuna out of the picture because he's an innocent person. I don't want him to be involved. So it could be that Iksu... I got a little worried there at the end of this episode because I was like, when he's like, oh, we'll see each other again, I'm like, you all better see each other again. I could totally see this show going down, and maybe it's because I've watched some really dark anime recently, but I really have this scary, unnerving feeling that something bad's going to happen to Iksu, and he just got them all away from him so that they weren't around when it happened. I get this like flashback that they're going to go back to this hut and it's going to be on fire and Iksu's going to be dead. And it's like, no, but hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully I'm just having a negative reaction, but hopefully that's it. I love Yona's new outfit. It matches with the OP. So Yona's really super talented. I love this idea of Yoon being this kid from the Fire Tribe, interestingly enough. This kid that basically was just born naturally talented. Like, he has a natural talent. He can remember things. He has a photographic memory. One of my friends, her dad has that exact same thing. It's totally a real thing. Her dad has a photographic memory. And anytime we'd go on trips as kids, he'd remember like landmarks and things about them. And like, he'd never have to look at a map because he'd memorized the directions once. Like, he just has a photographic memory. And Yoon is the same way. He just remembers things after looking at them. But he's very kinesthetic. He's like hands-on learning. So as soon as he learns how to do something, he kind of masters it. So that's really cool that we have a character like that is something real, that there are people in real life that can do this. And so you can see the little blush on his face, but he tries to make the little jab at Yona because, again, he doesn't like royalty or nobles. And he's like, oh, well, it's not silk, so you probably wouldn't like it. And she's like, I love these interesting clothes. And he's like, interesting? Like, what are you saying? And then she's just like, I'm going to take this axe and cut my hair off. And Yoon's like, no. And so Yoon's also like, I'm also a hairstylist too, professionally licensed, ready to help you. I love that we have the little feathers in his hair too. That wasn't in the flashback, so it's just something he's added on to it. I love that Yoon's like, I'm basically a genius. A handsome genius who's just too handsome for my own good. But Yona's like, it's not, that you're smart and everything, but you're kind. Like, you stayed here and you've helped Iksu. Like, you're a kind person. And then Yoon tries to counter it by being like, well, none of this is free, And she's like, oh, just build to Moondock. And then this is the one thing that stood out to me. He's like, oh, Moondock, the hero. And Yona's like, huh? And he's like, Moondock was a powerful commander just as strong as Yuhong. So we kind of guessed that as the audience. He's one of the commanders. So it's like, of course he was super strong and he's head of the Wind Tribe. So we, the audience, could kind of have guessed that this whole time. That, yeah, Moondock probably in his heyday was like Hawk. He was super, super strong. And like Yoon says, just as powerful as Yuhong. But Yona doesn't seem privy to that. She's like, oh, I just thought he was the old guy that hadn't loved his children. And Yoon's like, you really are really naive, aren't you? Really. And so, yeah. And then we get the establishment that he has the one book. They can memorize books that he reads even once, but he hasn't read a lot of books. But one of the ones that he read was one that Iksu gave him, which was one on medicine. I love that. I love that Iksu, when he found out that he liked to read and could memorize, he gave him a book of medicine, something that would be useful, something that he could learn that would be helpful in the future. And it saved Hawk and Yona's life, so, and it's helped him because he helped apply the salve and everything to him when he first fell. But yeah, I love that. I love the idea that Yoon wants to keep learning. He wants to keep developing skills, later on. And then and Iksu finding the book in the dumpster. It's so cute. And then, yeah, Yoon says all his God business seems like it's phony, but I know better than anyone that he can't lie. And so I'm curious. Yona leans down here. She kneels before him, and Yoon kind of gets weirded out. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm still not exactly sure what she's doing in this moment. At first, I felt like she was trying to read the book that he had in his hand. But then I don't know if she was like going to pray or what she was going to do, or like grab his hand to propose, or they go with them. I'm curious why she bent down, because he's kind of like he's just talking about how Iksu seems like his whole religious deal is phony, but he can never lie, so something's up. And then he's like, I don't know what you're doing, so let's get ready to go. I don't have time to look after you two, and then he just walks off. And I think Yona just got cold feet, that she couldn't tell him. And Hawk is the same way. He can't tell him either. He's, strutting around half naked and bandaged up like a mummy out here. He can't tell him too. I'm curious to know, I'll have to look again. I wasn't paying attention to see if Yoon actually fixed Hawk's clothes or if he just gave him the same ratty ones. It'd be kind of funny if he didn't fix Hawk's clothes. So yeah, then they go into this little shed where all the firewood is, and Iksu complimenting him. And again, she makes the comment that Iksu reminds her a lot of her father. And she's like, oh, well, you're super kind, and you're gentle, and you're kind of clumsy, and kind of a crybaby, but you have a really good heart. You remind me a lot of my dad. And so that's the curious thing with this too, is that he seems aloof, and you wonder if another reason that Yu Hong kicked him out was because Iksu reminded him of his brother. If maybe that Yu Hong having the jealousy and anger towards his brother becoming king, if that's another reason he kind of pursued Iksu getting kicked out of the temple, is because he saw that relation. But also, here's the other thing. Towards the end of this, Iksu trips, and it was in a very dangerous place. Like, it was near the edge of a waterfall where he could have died, and he saved himself. And so in all the other times we've seen him trip, he's just tripped on the ground. It's never been anything that would, mortally wound him. But on the edge of a waterfall where he could literally die, he did catch himself. So I'm curious to know if, just like King Il, if Iksu's kind of hiding another side of himself, and that he is capable, and that he kind of puts on a little bit of a persona of being naive and aloof and things like that, because that's just how he is. If there's another side to him, it's curious. I found that interesting that she'd make that connection when we've seen from Hawk's flashbacks that King Il was definitely more than he appeared, even though we don't have the full picture yet. He was definitely more than just an aloof, dumb king. There's more to him than that. And in times when Iksu seems genuine or like concerned, we see his eyes, and we see his eyes right after that, his magenta eyes and his cute birthmark. But yeah, and he says, Yoon is foul-mouthed, but he loves you. Yeah, and I don't want to pull a family apart. She's like, I know exactly. She's like, I'm not foul-mouthed like Yoon, but I loved my father like Yoon loves you. And so if you send Yoon off with us, then that's just going to pull a family apart like my family was pulled apart. And I know she's like, I know how that made me feel. And so I don't want Yoon to have to go through that exact same thing. And I love that Yoon not only heard this part, but he also heard Iksu say that it should have been him request it from the start. And he should have talked to Yoon, and he didn't because he was afraid. I really love that. I love that Yoon got to hear the whole conversation, because I was afraid it was going to be something really melodramatic. And it is dramatic, but it's more to it than that. So yeah. And then, of course, immediately falls. Like you do. But yeah, so... And Yoon confronts him. And I love he does like almost like the Kamedan where, you put your elbow against the wall when you're up against somebody. But he does it with his foot because he's shorter than Iksu. I don't ship Iksu and Yoon any type of romantic relationship. I don't. I definitely feel like they have a familial love. Like the love that Iksu and Yoon have, it's not romantic, but it's familial. Like it's the love of like a father to a kid, or like an uncle to a nephew, or like a brother to a brother. Like it's a familial love that I feel between Iksu and Yoon. Like Iksu cares for him like he was his own child. Like I love that. And him saying that he wants Yoon to leave this place. He's like, you need to go assist for the princess and her friend. He's like, you need to get out of here. Because, and I love that Yona kind of backs away. She doesn't want them to see. He's like, you shouldn't stay here. And yeah, and you get the impression, he's like, go see the world. Because he's like, you have so much talent, and you have so much talent and potential. He's like, I led you away from your home because you would have died there. He's like, but if you stay here, you're going to die here too, because you're not living up to your full potential. You're not being as strong as you could be. You could do so much for the world. You need to get out and go see it. Don't just stay here because you think that I need you to survive. He's like, and Iksu's right to an extent. He has made it somehow all these years prior to meeting Yoon. It's just he's been helped by Yoon all this time. And part of you wonders if Iksu maybe was falling and getting into these situations so that Yoon could practice his craft and get better at medicine and get better at sewing and get better at making things. So you almost wonder if Iksu was almost testing him to see if he could get better at these things. At the same time, it's interesting. But yeah, Yoon tries to throw the book in the fire, but just like Yona and that hairpin, you still care about him, so you can't do it. That parallel is really good. You just can't do it. And he's like, it's a book of medicine. He gave it to you because he cared about you. And he wants you to go see the world. Yep. And then Hawk shows up, just still half naked with bandages, eating this fish. You almost wonder if Hawk's just around Yoon with the fish to be like, get my clothes sewn up yet? Can I wear clothes again? Am I ever going to be allowed to wear clothes again? And then, yeah, Hawk also says the line, I'm immortal. Actually, I can't afford to die. So there's a little jab there. I'm like, is he actually immortal like the dragon beasts? He's not, because he nearly died from the injuries. But him saying the immortal part was a joke. And he's saying, I can't afford to die because I've got to keep Yona safe. And Yoon is like, well, why do you care so much about her? Like, she just denied being your lover. Why do you want to risk your life protecting her? She's just a dumb princess. And he's like, when you protect someone you want to keep safe, do you always weigh your own life against theirs? He doesn't say that he loves her in that moment, but it's implied. And the same thing, because Hawk knows that Iksu wants Yoon to go with them. So it's almost like Hawk's, kind of nudging him along, saying, you care about Iksu, but when you care about somebody, you want to protect them, right? Am I right? And then Yoon just goes off, and Hawk's like, well, I'm going to go leave this fish to not be eaten. I don't waste food. Not this Wind Tribe member. And so, yeah, going where the waterfall is. And then we get the flashback. So, yeah, this flashback, there is a lot of symbolism in it. And a lot of things I want to talk about. I love it. It explains everything we need to know about Iksu and Yoon. Just everything's right there. 7 years earlier in the Toka village of the Fire Tribe. And so we get this idea that this kid, that Yoon is starving to death. He said, yesterday I ate tree roots. Like he's going to starve to death. And the fields are devoid of crops and even insects. And so the first thing I thought in this whole thing was 7 years ago, right? So if we're looking at the timeline, 7 years ago, I'm trying to think, is that around the time that, are we thinking that's right around the time that King Il was about to kill Yu Hong or not? Are we thinking that? I don't know for sure. Because was it 6 years ago that King Il killed Yu Hong, or was it 8 years ago? So it's either, I don't know if Yu Hong's still alive or not, but Iksu's left the temple. So I'm assuming that Yu Hong was still alive 8 years ago, because that's when he was kicked out. But the point is that everything's really barren here. And I was wondering if the first thing that came to my mind is, did King Il know that the people here were starving in the Fire Tribe? Because here's the thing, if we're talking about political intrigue and all this, and Suwon saying that King Il was not a good king, if that's the perspective we're going with, it could lend to why the Fire Tribe was so on board with getting Suwon to become king. Because if the people there were starving in the Fire Tribe and King Il wasn't doing anything about it, then yeah, I could understand why the Fire Tribe would not like him and want to put somebody else into power, and why they would back Suwon. That totally makes sense. So I was curious to know if King Il was officially king yet in the timeline. I'll have to go back and watch the previous episodes to see. I need to go back and rewatch to see, and maybe for episode 9 I can comment on it. But I wasn't sure King Il was king yet, or if it was still Junon that was king at this point. I was not sure. Apparently Yu Hong was still alive though, because he kicked Iksu out. So that's interesting. But my point was that this whole place looks like it's in trouble and nobody's helping them. And so Yoon says, I'm going to have to go steal some food, but the last time I tried, I was nearly killed. So he's like, I'm going to hit this person and kill him and take their food. Like, he's just that desperate. He's starving, and that's the only way he knows how to get food and survive. And of course, Iksu is the one he runs into. And then he knocks him out and goes to take either money or food, and he doesn't have anything. And Iksu's like, I've given all my money and stuff away. And Iksu grabs him, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't have anything. And it looks like he's going to go try to hit him with the log, and I don't know if he actually hits him or not, but he thinks that Iksu has all this gold, and it's established that he did at one point. And so I'm curious to know if Iksu just took the gold with him to hand out to people. But this goes back to what Yoon was telling Yona in the last episode, that whenever Iksu was in the villages, he would give everything he had to the people, and it was never enough. Like, the people's greed and avarice and their hostility got to him, and he's like, I can never satisfy them. And it's like, yeah, because they're greedy. Like, he's trying to be kind to them, and they're taking total advantage of him. You know, like Yoon is here, except Yoon is a kind-hearted person, and he eventually changes his tune because of Iksu crying. If he hadn't been a child and had been older and less kind-hearted, then he could have totally killed Iksu right then and there. But yeah, Iksu bleeding, like, from his wound and everything, and then Yoon getting mad at him, and then eventually giving him the salve and stuff. I love it. That he, like, passes out and everything, and then he gives him the medicine. And here's the thing. Iksu wakes up and sees him putting on the medicine and helping him, and his eyes have that little twinkle, and he does a little blush. Like, Iksu's so happy. He's like, oh, this person was really kind-hearted, and they helped me. And so he went into the village and traded his own shoes in the middle of winter to get this kid a potato, because Iksu he's a man of God, and he's kind, and he wants to help others, and his whole purpose, he believes in life, is to help others. Like, he's the perfect representation of what you want a priest to be. He is kind and selfless and just helping others. That's like what you imagine like a priest in reality should be, is that selfless person, like he's being for Yoon. And Yoon's like, it's okay. And then he offers to teach Yoon how to make the straw sandals. He's like, oh, don't worry, we can make sandals. He's like, I have to repay you for the medicine. It's all right. And so he makes the straw sandals, but he teaches Yoon how to do it, and Yoon makes them even better. And so it's kind of funny. It's that whole representation of and again, this is drawing obviously from more Eastern culture and Eastern religion, but even like there's the phrase in Christianity that's like, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a year, sort of thing. Like, it's better to teach someone how to do something so they can do it themselves, right? And so it's the idea of passing on knowledge, and that knowledge being used for good. And so Yoon tells me, he's like, I want to grow up and I want to go and study freely and read books. And he's like, I can read, but just a little bit. And Iksu sees something in Yoon. You can tell he sees that there's this fire in him, and he wants to cultivate it. And he's like, I'll find you a book. It'll be fine. He's like, I travel all over the place. I'll go find you lots of books. And that's the sad thing, is he goes to find Yoon all these things, and then he comes back and he gave it all away. He didn't covet any of it. He just gave it all away because people said they needed it. And we'll get to that part. But there's a scene before that where Yoon says, what do you do? And he's like, I'm someone who prays to God. He doesn't call himself a priest. He just says, I'm someone who prays to God. So if he's keeping a low profile, it makes sense why he doesn't just come out and say it. He just tells what he does, but he doesn't give up his profession. And he's like, the voice of God leaves me to people who are feeling down. And I help those people find the courage to live. And that ties to Yoon. He was led to Yoon, and he taught Yoon how to make the sandals, and Yoon making the sandals was able to get him money to buy food or to trade for food and things like that. So it helped him have the courage to live. Because at the start, when he first found Yoon, Yoon was about to kill someone to survive. He was that desperate. And so that's interesting. And Yoon says God doesn't exist. He's like, and then he says that, but he looks at Iksu, and Iksu's looking at him just smiling like, okay, you can think that. That's fine. And then Yoon says, there's no way he exists, but this guy doesn't seem like a liar either. So that's the thing. It's like there's this idea of faith, And he's like, and in Yoon's eyes, you can kind of see that connection to Suwon. Yoon believes, he's like, well, there can't be a God because I'm about to die of starvation. Like, why would a God let me suffer like this? And then Iksu comes along and kind of gives him this little sapling of faith, like, no, I was led to you. It's fine. It's okay. And it's interesting, right? So it's, whether you believe God to be an actual entity or an energy source or whatever, it's an idea that there is something beyond, right? And Iksu totally believes that. He believes he's the voice of that energy, that presence. And Yoon seems very skeptical, but he's like, but this man's also very honest, so I'm confused. And yeah, so he's like, well, if you're going somewhere, how are you going to do it without shoes? And that's when Iksu's like, I'll teach you how to make them from straw. And I was taught how to do it long ago. And Yoon, wanting to learn, gets taught by Iksu. And he's like, you could sell these easily and make money off of them. And Yoon's like, well, yours are awful. But that's the thing. He's a teacher, he teaches the craft, and then it's like the student becomes the teacher, right? I love it. I love the idea that he taught him to make them. And he's like, teach me something else. And Iksu, I love that he's like, okay. And then he leaves, with his new boots and stuff that he clearly has now. I guess he got enough money or stuff to get boots. And then trips and falls. But yeah. But he leaves. And here's the thing. He goes on his way, and you could tell he was going to find him a book and stuff and come back. He just wanted to go get him some things and bring them back with him. But Yoon, he's like, I kept wanting to ask him things, and I didn't want him to go, but I couldn't say it. And there's a moment here where he's like, next time we meet, maybe I'll ask him. And there's a moment where the light is shining in through the window, and it's like the moonlight and everything. And for a second, I thought that when he says, please come back soon, I thought Yoon was going to pray. I really thought that he was going to, because I thought that's what that moonlight and everything was alluding to, was that he was going to pray to the night sky or whatever, like let him come back. And it is kind of like what he does. He kind of does that. He says, please come back soon. And in the meantime, he makes all the shoes and he gets the food and he is able to survive and carry on. And then he finds, and Iksu comes back, like it's all winter has passed, like months and months have passed. And then he comes back and he has like, his clothes are worse for wear and torn, and he's still smiling, but he's like, you have hardly any clothes and you look so dirty. And Iksu's saying it took him so long because he's like, I wanted to give you lots of things, but as I was gathering them, people who wanted my gold and all my belongings took them. He's like, even the books are gone. He's like, I don't have a single piece of gold left. Yeah. And the idea of, he says, Yoon, I'm going far away. And that's when he says it. He's like, I want to be around people, but when I have gold, then something happens and it brings out something unpleasant in them. Yeah, he's like, I want to be around people and help them, but they take advantage and take all of my things because of their greed. And he's like, and I end up having nothing to give them at the end of it. He's like, so the idea that Yoon said he became depressed because he couldn't help people, it's apparently a real thing, and it hits here. And then this part where he put his face up next to Yoon and like told him goodbye and like gave him a little nudge on the forehead. Oh, that was so sad, because it is like a father saying goodbye to his son. And Yoon's so sad to see him go. That moment where they hug and he's like, I don't want you to go, and I'll go with you. And Iksu's like, I need to keep a low profile, which means that there's people probably hunting him. And so you also wonder too, if the reason why he's wanting to get away from people is several months have passed. So I'm wondering if during this time, did Yuhong die, and there was all this like stuff going on, and he's like, I don't need to be around anybody because my life could be in danger. He could have got blamed for it too. We don't know. It could have been that since King Il wasn't charged for the death of his brother and it was played off as an accident, it could have been that some people said that Iksu killed him. We don't know. So he's probably like, I don't need to be around a little kid because I'm probably gonna have to go into hiding. And then Yoon's like, nah, I can. He's like, I'm gonna go with you and help you. He's like, we don't have to go to the capital. He's like, I just want to travel. I want to get away from here. He's like, I know you'll teach me and it'll be fine. And he's like, besides, you're clumsy and you need help. And it's, he's like, I'm the only one who can apply your medicine, right? And then they do that hug. It's so sweet. And then the rest is history. It's like, ah. And so he has Iksu tell him about the heroes of the past, about everything. He practices with his medicine, all of this. I love it. And he's like, I don't want to leave you because I worry about you. And then he makes them the new sandals. And then he catches himself, which is, it's funny. He's like, I'll be fine. He's like, you can go. But then at the end there, he actually admits, he's like, I'm actually not fine with you leaving, but you need to go. And I like that there was that realness between them. I like that there was the reality that he's like, he's like, I know you're sad, Yoon, but I don't want to see you go either. And they both like sit there and cry it out. And it's like, and Hawk and Yona are like, look at these two having their bonding moment. I love it. I love it. So yeah, Yona has her new gear, her new garb. It's got her cloak and everything. And Hawk seems okay with Yoon coming along with them. He's like, it's fine. It'll be nice to have somebody that knows medicine and is a guide. And so yeah, Hawk's got his clothes. I'm assuming they're all patched up. We don't get exact confirmation, but they look clean, so we'll go. And yeah. And so yeah, he's bringing medicine and a burlap sack to bag up Yona if they need to. Bringing all that, everything. It's great. But yeah, he's got all the gear and stuff, so he's going to be their white mage. Moving forward, right? And then yeah, and they're off. And they're off with Yoon, and Yoon leaving Iksu behind. Again, I get a little nervous about Iksu getting left behind because I want him to stay safe. And there's a little tiny part of me that thinks that now that this whole prophecy's kicked into gear, that the fire tribe and everybody's going to come looking after the priest and everybody, and they're going to start like following the trail. And I'm worried they're going to like attack Iksu, and Iksu's not going to be able to defend himself because he won't, right? He's a priest. So, but again, the ties to spirituality in this series is interesting, but it's also the ties of spirituality and then human willpower, right? Because Iksu's like, I can only go so far. I can bring you faith, and I can practice my faith and help you out as much as I can. But at the end of the day, he's like, I can only do so much. Yoon had to kind of pick up where Iksu left off and do something with that. So I find that really, really fascinating. I love it. I think it's awesome what ends up happening between them. But this was just a good episode. I've rambled. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, but I really, really like this episode. I love Iksu. He's a great character. I don't want him to die. I get bad vibes of them leaving him alone. I do. I'm with you, and I get bad vibes, but maybe he'll be fine. We'll see. But in any case, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. We're now on our way to find another dragon. I'm excited, but we'll see how it goes. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back soon with more Yona of the Dawn. Bye.